For those joining us for the first time, I've been pursuing spirituality for years. It has been a personal quest. And what I realized was that to realize the true nature of who we are is extremely simple. It doesn't need hard work. It is extremely simple. It is just that there is a lot of noise on top of it. That's why when we go and pursue this, I see people getting caught up in different things. Different things could be traditions, religions, philosophies, concepts. I'm not saying any are wrong. All I'm saying is that is not where the attention needs to be. If the attention goes past all these things, it is extremely easy to realize the true nature of who we are. I want people to know how it is easily possible for a common man. How common I am is as common as anybody. So if this can work for me, there is absolutely no reason why it can't work for you. A lot of times we see spiritual processes demanding time because they were designed for people of that time. But today, for a modern professional, for a busy mom, for a busy father, they may not find time to take out a few hours of the day and do their practices. What this means is either they have to compromise on their life and their family and their responsibilities, or their practices and progress. This is a humble offering from my side, where the practices are designed in a way where they will fit into modern lifestyle. This is designed for a modern individual. Most practices will be dynamic. You can do them on the go. Few tiny bits which are easy to manage is something that we keep on doing just to build a foundation. How do we minimize the barriers to entry for anybody who wants to understand what is their true nature? What is the true nature of life, reality? Barriers to entry means, see, the way it is projected, the way it is seen in books, in stories, in movies, spirituality is like an amazing achievement. What it feels like is, oh, I'm here and there's this much climbing to do to realize myself, or what we call divine or spiritual. That is exactly the norm that we want to shatter. You don't need to become anything else. You just need to change your perspective and perception. It's that simple. Let's get into today's session. Today's session is based on a lot of popular questions that came from a lot of you. So what we will do today is, first of all, understand what is consciousness, what it means to be conscious, what is awareness. And from there, we will use that basis to answer some questions and understand the impact of objects, the impact of gravity on us, the impact of moon on us, the impact of sun on us, why certain dates matter more than the other, when you should look at focusing on yourself, focusing on the interiority, and experiencing the true nature of yourself. So before we jump into consciousness, let's understand one very simple fundamental. What is spirituality? If I have to define spirituality, is fundamentally, there are two dimensions, only two dimensions. Both of them are constantly in your experience, everybody's experience, not even humans. It's in the experience of animals as well. Simple, inner dimension and outer dimension. Outer dimension is the physical reality we experience, that we come in contact with, that we touch, that we feel. We are working, we have relationships. Inner dimension is what you experience when your eyes are closed. All of you experience that daily. When your eyes are closed, whatever space you are seeing, not the physical reality, is your inner dimension. This inner dimension is intelligent. The intelligence that you are is what that dimension is. When you close your eyes and you say, me, you will not find any object, because this inner dimension is formless. No shape, no color, nothing. It's just a space of being. You are. This inner dimension experiences the outer dimension. Any spiritual quest is simply, what is this inner dimension? That inner dimension is what we call a self, me. The basis of our existence, simply put, If you are not there, would it matter if universe exists? No, there is nobody to experience. So you are the basis of your existence. Is it the body that you call yourself? Is it the mind, the thoughts that you call yourself? Is it the personality is what you call yourself? Or all of these things have been growing, diminishing, coming, going, and what is you has been constant. So later on, we will do a simple meditation to understand what is you and what is not you. But before we do that, there is some theory that is needed, some fundamental that is needed, which will help you understand and go deeper into the meditation. Let me share my screen and we'll talk about the basics, the fundamentals. What is consciousness? And to understand that, let's go back to the beginning. Beginning of what? Beginning of the creation of universe. All right. So let us ask a fundamental question. We all spend a lot of time exploring physical reality. What is this physical reality? Where does it originate? As we understand from scientific explorations, this universe started with a Big Bang. If this universe started with a Big Bang, what was before Big Bang? What caused this universe? On screen is an image of Big Bang. So on far left, the explosion that you are seeing, that is Big Bang. And this Big Bang is shown on a time scale. So Big Bang started, and in various phases, how universe evolved till we come to now, to the present moment. For the sake of this conversation, let's look beyond Big Bang. What is everything else that you see before Big Bang? So on the right side, so from Big Bang, moving towards right, as the arrow is showing you, we are moving from that beginning of time, that point in time, towards now. We are traveling on the axis of time. So to the left is before Big Bang. So what is it that was there before Big Bang? Where did this Big Bang happen? So somebody might answer, oh, there was just space. Actually, Big Bang was the start of space-time continuum. It is this spot, that explosion, which created space and time. There was no space before that, there was no time before that. So then what was it that was there? Let this sink in. What is containing the Big Bang? What is that scape in which this is taking place? See, what was there before Big Bang was not something physical. It would not be unfair to say it was nothing, but it was not really nothing either. There was no thing over there. But of course, there had to be something which resulted into Big Bang, right? What was there before Big Bang was pure potential, pure creative potential, total unmanifest, nothing, no experience, no existence. A capability to exist, a potential to exist. So then from that simple potential to exist, how do you have this complex creation in which we live? Everything that you pick up, even if it's a leaf, even if it's a flower, it's a creature, it's an animal, anything is so complex. How do we get here? Let's talk about how it started. What I'm going to say might come as a bit of a shock. Universe is just a thought. It is just a thought pattern. When there was total nothingness, that potential simply had a thought. I want to experience myself. there needs to be something. It is that intention that led to many things which formed universe. I come from Indian background, and that's why I'm just using a few examples from that background. This is universal. But to just use that example, in Indian spiritual trinity, there is a concept of Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh. Who are these three? They become very contextual over here. So the consciousness, the pure potentiality of creation before anything existed, that is the dimension that we call as Shiva. That is the dimension which is the fundamental cause of anything manifest or unmanifest. Unmanifest is what truly is, and manifestation is what happens out of intent. So what you are seeing on the left of the explosion of Big Bang, that is unmanifest. That is Shiva. That is consciousness, the knowing. I am. I exist. That is what you call being, pure being. You are. That is the fundamental material with which all of us are made, even now. That material is the foundation of our existence. Material is not an accurate word, but there is no accurate word to describe it. Language falls short, but that is Shiva. Now, that intention, there should be something. I want to create. That is the first occurrence of mind. Mind is a pattern. If there are no thoughts, there is no mind. It is just a fluctuation. Fluctuation means nothing, then a thought, an intent, a desire. That desire is to create, to express. That fluctuation is what you call as Brahma. Brahma, or the cosmic mind. It is that mind who is creating, or which is dreaming. So essentially, if you look at reality from that space where there was nothing, then something, that pure potential, is dreaming, it's thinking. That thought, that dream is what is the manifested reality. So that cosmic mind is Brahma. And the consciousness that is experiencing whatever is now manifest, whatever is physical, whatever has taken form, that consciousness is keeping it alive by engaging with it. So when Big Bang happened, there was a massive explosion. That explosion released a tremendous amount of energy. So the dormant consciousness, the pure potential, Shiva, mesmerized by whatever is getting created. And that consciousness started following what is getting created, started engaging with what is getting created. Engaging, playing, creating. So that explosion happens. Tremendous amount of energy gets released. And then particles are forming, how Big Bang happened. If you haven't, I would highly encourage you to watch a few documentaries. It is extremely fascinating. But anyways, coming back to the story. So universe was extremely hot and there's pure energy. Now that pure energy is coming from a very subtle space, from pure nothingness, pure thought. It is getting manifested. And as it is moving away, moving out from the point where the Big Bang happened, it is cooling down and it is becoming grosser at the same time. So a pure non-physical phenomena is manifesting and becoming denser. Pure energy to matter, transformation is happening. And you start seeing physical matter coming into existence. Atoms, molecules, particles, interplaying, becoming complex matter. Clouds of dust coming together. This is how creation is flowing. The consciousness mesmerized with this creation and empowering it to happen, we call Vishnu. Shiva is pure potential, fundamental of everything that exists or that could exist or does not exist is that Shiva. Brahma is the creator, the thought, the dreamer, which is dreaming this physical reality. And Vishnu, which is keeping this physical play up by engaging with it and empowering it. This is the foundation on which creation is set up. This creation exists because of these three fundamental forces. Now let's move on. So now this sign, I think a lot of you would be aware of it. If you haven't seen this sign, on the next slide you will see in more detail what this is. But now let's go back to that space before space and time even existed, before Big Bang, where there is pure potentiality, pure sense of I am, me. It is this me that has a thought. So that thought is what is represented by that white circle, that first intent that there needs to be something. I want something to be there. That expressibility is that white circle that you're seeing on the screen. Now this expressibility goes on further, which is this complete white shape that you're seeing. Starting from that one point, it is going on expanding and taking the form of the universe we know today. Starting from such a small singularity, we are coming to this complex universe. And the black dot represents that consciousness that was always there. This whole darkness that you are seeing everywhere is that potentiality. That potentiality has embedded itself in everything that has taken shape, including you and me. Pure potentiality, pure intelligence, pure consciousness, that is accessible to you even now. It has always been and it will always be. There was no time when this was not accessible to you. The black dot within that white shape is that pure intelligence. Pure intelligence is wrapped by form as you, contained by your body. And this is where confusion happens. So that pure potential, always free, just gets mesmerized by something that exists. Before there was form, there was nothing, no experience. When there is an experience, that intelligence gets captivated by it, and over a period of time, it starts confusing itself to be the form, to be the shape. This is where the mix-up happens. In a dark night sky, suppose it's a new moon day, the sky is totally dark, blank, absolutely nothing. And maybe it's a overcast night, so you're not even able to see the stars. And there is a firecracker that happens in the distance. All your attention will get fixated on that firecracker in the night sky. Why? Because that is the only movement happening in the entire scape. So essentially, where there is stillness, where there is silence, that is not something where attention will go and fixate itself normally. Attention will go itself and attach itself to something that is moving, evolving, interesting. That is where consciousness gets confused and starts misidentifying itself with the form. And this becomes the basis of everything limited, every suffering, every problem. Because now what was indestructible, unaffected, is now thinking it is limited, fragile, destructible, it has a limited time, energy, resources. When dealing with uncertainties of a dynamic universe where you never know what will exist tomorrow, what will not exist tomorrow, whether your body will exist today, tomorrow, everything is uncertain. Now, when you think you are this fragile form, where you are this fragile body, this individual, which can be destroyed any time. A coconut falls on somebody's head, they'll be gone. A car crash happens, they'll be gone. This will definitely lead to anxiety. When you know somebody and if see them pass away, that will lead to mourning, sadness. Because there is a fundamental misconception that this body is all there is. This is the confusion that causes all challenges in our lives, everything. So let's see why this confusion occurs and how can we transcend this confusion. But that is a longer search. Now let's come back to this topic further. Let's go deeper into what happens when this universe gets created. So in the next slide, I wanted to show the famous yin and yang sign. Yin and yang is a beautifully simplified depiction. Form contains consciousness, and consciousness contains form. That is the nature of this universe, this creation, this reality. So now let's go further. So universe got created and all these dust clouds and everything started coming together. But why did they start coming together? What was the reason for them to come together? The fundamental reason for all these things to form was gravity. Gravity started pulling things together. The more mass an object has, the more gravity it has. So a few objects came together, they had a bigger gravity, they had an influence on more objects in the vicinity. It started becoming a bigger mass. So imagine all these celestial bodies scattered across space, and they are just getting collected together, forming bigger and bigger masses. And that is what led to stars and planets and all these celestial objects forming. But there is a very interesting phenomena that is happening, which is happening outside of the realm of time and space. Please recall the first screen, the Big Bang slide. The Big Bang is creating time and space. The conical shape traveling across. Time and space is contained within that. Outside, there is no time and space. A star, a planet, all space around. The fabric of space-time is still contained within that, what you call Shiva, divine or pure potential, consciousness. Remember that consciousness is dreaming this reality. Within this reality, our senses are creating an illusion of solidity. In reality, when you transcend all the senses, you will see there is no physicality. Physicality is an illusion, simply created by how our sense objects perceive anything. So, looking at this picture, you are seeing the dip under the star, the dip under the planet is showing you the bend that gravity is creating in the fabric of space-time. Gravity is distorting the fabric of space-time, and that is what is causing that pull, gravitational pull, to happen. Similarly, the mass of the object is distorting the fabric of space and time, which is shown with that dip. So everything outside, the whole space-time outside, is pushing the object into the bend, and that is what is causing the gravitational pull. But this is happening in this three-dimensional reality, in the physical reality. What is this gravitational pull, this bend? That is what is the most interesting thing. Now, see, gravity as such does not explain much. But in Sanskrit, which is a very powerful language to help understand this concept, because they have done a lot of exploration in this field. So in Sanskrit, gravity is called Gurutvakarshan. Gurutvakarshan is a combination of two words, Gurutva and Akarshan. Akarshan means attraction, and Gurutva means Guru-ness. What is Guru? And what is Guru-ness? The potentiality, the consciousness, that is the Guru, that is the creator, the cause of existence. That substance, for a lack of a better word, it is not a substance, you can't define it, but that material has a few properties. That property is manifesting itself, that quality is manifesting itself in three-dimensional reality in the form of gravity. Celestial objects are demonstrating the force of gravity in physical reality. But that physical reality, as you saw earlier, is just a subset of the whole game. There is a lot underneath, or most of it is underneath, the substratum of everything, which is not detectable to our senses, but which is holding this whole thing together. They are also manifesting this guru-ness, or the non-physical aspect of gravity. So now how is this important to us? See, now what you are seeing here is any physical manifestation has two parts. One dimension is the physical dimension, which is just the surface of everything. Another dimension is the deeper dimension, which is non-physical, which is the fundamental cause of existence. Shiva, or that consciousness, or that divine intelligence, is not separate from anything. It is manifesting all of this at the same time. We are sharing this moment with everything that exists. This moment is not limited to us being here together. You are sharing this moment in time with everything, even the stars that are billions of light years away, galaxies, black holes, whatever exists. This happening is common. Separateness is only in terms of this physical surface. This planet Earth is separate from the sun, but the substratum has no divisions. It is just energy. Energy is whirling closer somewhere because there is a mass, there is an object that it is mesmerized with. If there is a bigger object, there is a bigger physical presence, there is more non-physical energy that is supporting it, simply because it is identified with that object. It is very much like you have a big river, and in that big river, there are many whirlpools at the same time. Any whirlpool has no individual identity of its own or individual existence of its own. It is just an appearance in the river. If that whirlpool starts giving itself a name, then that whirlpool is creating an illusion for itself. If a whirlpool says, "My name is Abhijeet," that whirlpool is creating an illusory separate identity. Whereas what that whirlpool is in reality is just the river, just the water in the river. So one whirlpool versus another whirlpool, are they separate or the same substance? Both are just water. This is exactly what is happening here. So it's just a formation, it is just a projection. Space and time, as I said, it's just a projection on the surface of consciousness. Now, because there is separateness in the forms that are existing on the surface, the consciousness or the intelligence, which is in the immediate vicinity of that object, is mesmerized and thinks that object is me. Now, because it thinks that object is me, anything that happens to that object, consciousness relates to itself. The same for us. If anything happens to our bodies, we get concerned because there is an illusion. This body, this person, this personality is me. To give you another analogy, a small child, when a small child goes to watch a movie, the way they perceive the movie is very different to how you would perceive. If it was a tragic movie, maybe the child will come back home traumatized. Why? Because that child believes the story being projected on the screen. Whereas you, being grown up, being more aware than that child, are simply aware that, yeah, it is just a movie. It is somebody's direction. It is just sound and light playing. I don't have to believe it. I know it's just a made-up story. We are going to be totally unaffected by the movie. Whereas that child believes the movie, and if the movie is bad, they will live it. When the consciousness starts believing the form is me, Everything the form goes through, that consciousness feels it is happening to me. If the form goes through a bad experience, consciousness gets traumatized. If the form goes through a pleasant experience, consciousness likes it. If the experience is too pleasurable, it might get addicted. This is where fundamental suffering happens. It is this misidentification causing all the problems. Now, anyways, coming back to gravity. So this energy which is attached to these objects, thinking that these objects are me, it is also emitting its own quality. So you have sun, which is giving you physical energy in the form of heat, light, UV rays, infrared rays, all those spectrums. But in addition to that, in that emission, there is this consciousness that is getting transmitted as well. There is this spiritual or non-physical energy which is getting transmitted as well. So as we open various other dimensions of ourselves, not just these five senses, we are able to perceive other things more clearly. But even if you haven't done any specific practice yet to open other aspects of your perception, still those aspects are with you. You cannot lose those aspects because that is part of your makeup. This three-dimensional reality is just the tip of the iceberg. The smallest aspect of you, just the tip, and you think the tip is you, whereas there is your entire existence which is supporting this experience of being this physical living personality. So that rest of your existence gets influenced by everything which is coming in contact or coming in vicinity of you, or rather than saying vicinity, whatever that exists around. So two layers. One is this space-time, where you are here in space and time, regardless of what object is where. Say even if there is a star which is millions of light years ago or billions of light years ago, that star has a gravitational effect on you. Because of the distance, it's minuscule, but it has a gravitational effect. A planet closer than that star has a gravitational effect on you. This is the basis of astrology. Every planet, object, you, me, every flower, everything has a unique frequency to itself, a unique effect of its existence. That is its fundamental nature. Every object that exists has a unique energy signature. In astrology, you say, okay, sun has whatever horoscopes that they make, or sun is in this house, so that's the effect on your life. Saturn is in that house, and that's going to be the effect of your life. Where is this coming from? Because all these objects impact on you. We are all sharing this together. Living, non-living, everything that exists. So we influence each other. This influence is more profound in the non-physical space, beyond time and space. And that is what influences us the most. Now, remember, gravity is nothing but guru-ness, the quality of the guru or quality of the superconscious. So that's why when there are specific days on this planet, we have a very noticeable impact of the fundamental objects that are around us, around this planet. That's why when sun comes in a specific position, in relation to the earth, in relation to the moon, in relation to the other objects in the solar system, that energy is taking a quality because of that changing position. Similarly, when moon comes to a certain point in time and space, because of that relative position, how sun's light is falling on the moon, where the moon is in relation to the earth, in relation to the other object, all this combination, the cumulative impact that all these celestial objects are taking, it changes. So it's a cumulative effect. It is not that moon or sun is causing a specific effect. They are around us, but because of the changing relative positions, the cumulative impact of this energy reaching earth, and that is reaching us, that creates changes in how we will experience or receive this impact with different days. That is why a full moon day has a different significance, or different months when the sun is in different houses. I'm not an astrology expert, just sharing how I see things. All these impacts, these changes are happening because of the cumulative effect of the underlying non-physical energy reaching us or being created in this time and space. That is what we experience as specific days. How to perceive this? To open up non-physical perception beyond these five senses is to focus on the inner dimension, because it's an imbalanced focus that has been given to the outer dimension. Everything we have been taught to do, eat, sleep, work, learn, maintain relationships, anything and everything that we do is simply happening in the outer dimension. And it is a complete miss that we have totally neglected the inner dimension, which is actually maintaining the outer dimension. If there is no inner dimension, you don't exist. What is you beyond body and mind? When you pay attention, it illuminates that space. Our attention is like a spotlight. Whatever you throw your attention on, that space will get illuminated. When I say illuminated, that space will come to clarity. So if you are paying attention on a thought, that thought will become clearer. If you are paying attention on a subject, you will be able to go deeper into that subject. If you are paying attention on an object, you will know more details about that object. So where you pay attention, that space grows in your awareness. Unfortunately, we have been paying attention to the outer world, to the outer dimension. And that is what we are practicing in this group, is how to develop that skill where when you want, you're paying attention outside because you have to handle things in the physical reality. But whenever you want, you just pull yourself out and direct all your attention in the inner scape and observe. So the more you start knowing your inner scape, the more you familiarize yourself with the inner scape, things start opening up. Your perception opens up. A child is born and you put a blindfold on that child's eyes, and that child grows up without ever using his eyes. So he has that sense, he has that innate capability to see, but just because that dimension has been hidden from him or her, that sense or that perception is not active. So if you take away that blindfold, the child might take time to adjust to that new sense that is now suddenly available. But once that child has adjusted to perceiving using that sense, everything that is available to see is available for that child. That is exactly what is happening here. We haven't engaged with our inner dimension, our inner way of perception. And that's why it is dormant. When you illuminate it with attention, when you familiarize yourself with your attention, you start understanding how this dimension works, how to use it more effectively to be able to perceive things which are not limited to the dimension of space-time. It is that simple. But now it becomes easier when you guide this attention that you are paying internally by using techniques that have been proven to work. So you are just saving whoever is wanting to explore this inner dimension, you are just saving them a lot of time, effort, a lot of trial and error by giving them sure, short ways. Okay, if you direct your attention this way, it's going to work. That is what the science of Kriya Yoga. Kriyas help you guide your attention internally, sometimes by leveraging breathing and sometimes by leveraging energy movements. It depends on how advanced the perception of the student is. So if you want to perceive why new moon is different or why full moon is different, you have to constantly be in touch with your inner space when these events are not happening. You have to have a benchmark of what normal feels. How is it feeling right now? When you are familiar with this, One day when there is a full moon, you will be able to notice, because this day is different, I can perceive how my inner scape is feeling. Inner scape is non-physical intelligent energy holding physical reality. The larger self, higher self, will perceive this with more clarity because that sense is now opened up. This is what life has been trying to do to enhance perception. So, say when there is a single cellular organism, all that it can experience is I exist, I can eat, I have to survive, without forming these words. Because of that limitedness, there is always a desire to experience more. This desire is what manifests in us in the form of greed. That is why human beings go, I want to own this, I want to own that. Why? Because that is the most innate curiosity that consciousness has, the fundamental intelligence has, to be able to experience more and more, to take the experience to the next level, to know for itself what is possible and what is not possible. Because this intelligence is infinite, it has no limitations. So it is just playing, wanting to see what all is possible, what all can I create. And that is what is the foundation of evolution. An amoeba wanting to explore gives rise to more complex organisms. Evolution happens, aquatic life. A fish, when it jumps out of the ocean, it sees there is more to this existence than just water. I wish I was able to experience that more. That is what leads to the amphibians. That amphibian crawling on the land goes, oh, I wish I was able to navigate this faster. That is what gives rise to animals with feet. These animals wish, I wish I could jump higher. Those jumping higher wish, oh, I wish I could fly. That is what results in formation of birds. Or if that animal goes, oh, I wish I was more dexterous, I wish I had more control, I wish I had more strength. Whatever more it is wanting, that is what is manifesting as the next level of evolution. Look at it like this. There is a bird. And is that bird in itself, that physical form in itself, does it have the necessary intelligence to create anything beyond its existence, other than just simply, so there's a bird, it will lay eggs, but the eggs will come from its own intelligence, its own DNA, and the chicks that hatch will be identical to that bird, right? So where does this evolution happen? It is not that meat and flesh of the bird which has that intelligence to decide, oh, I want to evolve. That flesh, bone, that matter, physical material does not have that intelligence. So then what is it? What is this intelligence? Thinking, I wish there was something more. I wish that something else could happen. How does this information, this lack of capability of, or limited capability of this particular creature, this individual creature, get transmitted to generations down the lane where slowly they have evolved into something else? There has to be something bridging this, right? One bird is there with its limited capability. It will live its lifetime and die. How does a descendant thousands of generations later know it has a different capability? Because this bird wished so. How is this information getting transferred? That is what is consciousness. That intelligence that runs life, that intelligence that knows anything, the awareness. You are sitting here and know that you are sitting here. That knowing is awareness. Something touches your hand and you know that there is a sensation. That knowing is the awareness. You are aware there is an experience. This awareness is the fundamental intelligence. That is what you are calling as life. See, suppose there is a rabbit and there is a dead rabbit. What is the difference between a rabbit and a dead rabbit? The dead rabbit does not have that life, that intelligence, that ability to know something. Pure intelligence is what we call life. awareness or consciousness. This intelligence is why there is anything. If there was no intelligence which could experience anything, why would life exist? To whose benefit? There is this intelligence that wants to experience something. This desire to experience something is the very fundamental of this universe. This same fundamental is innate in all of us. That is why you see people chasing experiences, people chasing growth, people chasing whatever they want to achieve, whatever they want to own, whatever they want to experience. Because this wanting to be more than we are now is innate nature of consciousness. That is that curiosity, that is that playfulness, that is leading to any life being existing. So as life ran into its own limitations, its desire to be more than what it was at that point in time, that is what led to evolution. And this is what gave rise to humans. But now, when through this evolutionary process, human beings came about, a very unique possibility happened. So something very unique about humans is the developed frontal lobe. This developed frontal lobe is this enhanced mental capabilities that we have, the ability to think critically. Animals cannot think critically. A monkey can think critically in a very limited sense. But this advanced logic, if I do, this will happen. The ability to strategize, that is something which is really unique to humans. And how did this come about? Fundamentally, because language is a tool. Forming words can create concepts in our mind. So forming words, permutation and combinations of the words that we use forms different concepts in our mind. That's why it's really important to be mindful of our language, what words we use, what sentence formations we use, and what meaning they convey. Because these formations of words are giving rise to concepts, to understanding. And this concept or thought form is what is the beginning of any manifestation. Simple example, if you have a house today, it started with a thought. I want to have a house. From that mental concept, things happen in sequence in physical reality, which led to you having a house. Wanting to eat started with a thought. I should cook something. What should I cook? Then you gathered those materials, you created whatever you had to create in the physical reality, and that is why you have a meal. So everything starts in the mind, in the mental plane of existence. All of you constantly experience this mental plane. Essentially, all evolution starts in the mental plane of existence, comes down into the energy field of existence. This energy framework is essentially what is holding the physical framework together. But anyways, we will go into those details in a bit of a separate video. Human beings evolved with this critical thinking capability where we can make permutation combinations of words or the meanings we attach to the words to create new concepts. Now, using the right permutation and combination of these words or the thoughts that come, we can direct our consciousness into the things we want to perceive. That brings us to the ability to realize ourselves. Before human beings, in the chain of evolution, monkeys or any other animal form does not have capability to realize itself because they don't have a choice about where they can direct their attention. It's only humans who have this choice. This choice has come simply because of the ability of language. Using language, you can tell yourself, I want to pay attention on the inside, not outside. I want to do my practice. I want to be aware of my breath. I want to watch my thoughts. Where is this happening using words? A simple experiment, very easy. All of us know 2 plus 2 is 4, but now keep saying blah 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 and try and do 7 plus 3. If your capacity to use words is utilized in saying blah blah blah, is it easy or difficult to do the calculation? You will still be able to do this calculation by using images of 7 and 3 and then making it 10. But it's much more difficult because your ability to direct your attention is now restricted because of you focusing on blah 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 blah. Your words are a powerful tool to direct your attention. Cleaning up your language is important. Using your words purposefully, whether internally or externally outside when you're talking with other people, is extremely important, because what you say has a tremendous impact on your life. I see a lot of people in general conversations, they just throw words like, oh, I'm so stupid, I should have done that. That word, I'm so stupid, has a profound impact on the capability of that individual to operate in this world. If somebody constantly says, I'm so stupid, because what you say is what you believe. And what you believe is what becomes the fundamental of your capability, whatever you will be able to do in this world. If you believe, I don't have confidence, then simply you don't have confidence because you don't believe it. If you consistently keep telling yourself, I am confident, it's easy for me to handle whatever is coming in front of me. That is what will become your reality. So now, getting back into this topic, using the right choice of words, we can direct our attention. So when life was at an animalistic phase, especially where the animals, the vertebrates whose spine is horizontal, they are operating simply for survival and security. That is what is the level of consciousness. Just to retain the form and propagate the form, that is what is the programming that form is carrying. And that animal does not have much more choice than that. But now, given that in humanity, as a human being, we have this critical thinking, the faculty of language, using this faculty of language, we have an ability to direct our attention and change it, move it. This is what becomes the foundation of self-realization. So, again, going back to the beginning, there was life, which was pure potential. There was no form. That's why there was no experience. Life thought, I want to experience, but it did not have the necessary foundation or fundamental material to create an advanced life form like human. It was a trial and error that life went through, starting with simplistic forms, non-living, immobile forms, stones, rocks, planets, stars. Then mobile form came into being, which we call as living organisms. They were simplistic, it's kept on evolving. But if you look at it, till the level of animals or humans who haven't woken up yet, the experience of life is largely traumatic. Fear is the predominant emotion that dominates existence, be it any life form, even a lion or a tiger, apex predators. When they get hungry, it's not a great experience. When they get challenged by a rival, it's not a great experience. Coming to humans, most humans are running around worried about survival, dealing with anxiety, depression, frustration, anger, fear, most of the time tangled up. Bits and pieces of good experience in their life, and that's why they get addicted. It feels so good to catch up with friends because you escape the mind. What am I going to do next? You are engaged with something which is totally different context. You have forgotten your worries and you're engaging with the pleasure. That's why substances feel great, alcohol or other drugs, because for that time, survival concerns are gone. But this is detrimental for the body. If not handled right, it is detrimental and not long lasting. You can catch up with friends, but if you start living with your friends, maybe they will let you be there for a few days, but after some time, they will kick you out. If you find that escape in a substance, maybe you will be okay for a few days, but after that, your body will not sustain it and you will not be able to survive. So then what is it that life, intelligence can do, the fundamental pure intelligence can do to fructify its desire to experience itself properly? That is the state of awakened consciousness. Awakened consciousness is where you meet full circle. You started with pure consciousness, pure intelligence, which wanted to experience itself. It took many forms trying to experience life, but the experience was never that great. Forms continued to evolve. Finally, you come into a form, which is this human form, which has the ability to reflect, ability to direct its attention, contemplate, transcend the programming of the form, the DNA, the genetic structure. It is at that level where pure intelligence recognizes itself. Instead of focusing outward on the form and the experiences that the form is giving, this consciousness turns around and reflects back on itself. Oh, I am not this form. I am pure intelligence. I am pure consciousness. I am the basis of life. That is where the circle gets complete. And life realizes itself, life truly can enjoy itself without any fear, without any worry, knowing that yes, I am eternal. I was before this body, I will be after this body, I am totally indestructible. Body will be destroyed, body will undergo changes. The situations, the scenery that I am experiencing through the body being the instrument, five senses, this is for me to know that there is experience, to engage with the experience, to play. But what I am is completely unaffected, disentangled, completely out of this realm of physicality. I am much more than what this physicality is. This is self-realization. Dropping the confusion of I am the body, asking the question, if I'm not the body, what am I? That's when the consciousness turns around and sees itself. That is awakening. When consciousness sees itself without the bondages of physicality, that comes as a massive relief. Lifetimes of stored trauma, of being bound with this form, living in the fear, oh, my form will get destroyed at some point in time. Living with that stress, I have to maintain this form, I have to nurture this form, I have to nourish this form, I have to keep it safe. All of that vanishes. You see, you are infinity. That experience cannot be described. But when that full circle happens, there is no need for fear, anxiety, depression, any limitation. All of this is just play. This is what completes that circle.